It wasn't your country to take. It's all of our countries, but acknowledge it's all of ours. It's all of ours. It's all of ours.
What's good, y'all? It's the Demouchets REACT, and we're back with another video. Who we got today, C?
Today we're back with another American reaction. Super excited about this video, guys. If you're new to us
and we're new to you,
make sure you scroll down,
hit that subscribe button,
and turn on the post notification bell because
we're on the road to 100K.
And we cannot get there without you guys, all right? Join the family. Without further ado, let's get into the video.
South Africa is a multicultural society. In 1994, Mandela made us believe that we were also a rainbow nation, united in our diversity. But today, our politics, our life experiences, even our social circles seem once more to be defined by race. It seems like the Rainbow Nation project has failed. Why? With me to discuss this, Kaya Dlanga, marketing guru, columnist, currently senior communications manager at Coca-Cola South Africa. Sisongim Simang, a scholar and activist who writes about race and gender justice. Sunette Bridges, Afrikaner musician and activist with Red October, the protest movement made popular by Steve Hofmeyr. Pierre de Vos is constitutional law scholar. And Lebo Mashile, award-winning poet. And in our audience, we have South Africans from all walks of life. Welcome to you all. Now, before we ask, has the Rainbow Nation failed? Take a look at this.
In our marketing hype, we've been living in the Rainbow Nation for years. But in the real world, achieving reconciliation and creating a society in which everyone has an equal stake was never going to be easy.
We, the first democratically elected government of this country, made reconciliation one of its main planks. Had we not done that, those elements, the right-wing elements that wanted to stop the election by force, probably would have triumphed.
20 years on, South Africa is a middle-income country, but inequality between races is growing. Black people are 5 times more likely to be unemployed than whites. Racism is not only experienced in the form of poverty and unemployment, it also persists in the social divisions and in people's attitudes. Gloria Kente has been a domestic worker and a nanny for most of her working life, a job that takes her away from her family 6 days a week. In 2006, her employer's partner started abusing her verbally.
He called me kafir, pathetic kafir, and then he just grabbed me the other day with my pajamas.
You said kafir? Oh, is that word that the kids was put on their shirts in one of the videos?
Yes.
Okay, so that word is very okay.
I don't exactly remember what it means, but I know it's a derogatory meaning.
Yeah, I don't know what it means, but it sounds like what it would mean for us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he spit on my face. Ooh. And he keep calling me kafir, I'm a pathetic kafir, I'm a thief, I'm stealing their land.
In 2008, Gloria laid a charge, but her abuser merely paid a fine and continued to taunt her.
And then he always say to me, I'm acting like a white woman. I forgot that I'm a black.
With help from the South African Domestic Workers Union, Gloria is taking her case to the Equality Court.
I'm happy to do this because I know there is a lot of people that are living in this thing, but they don't want to come out because we don't want to lose our jobs.
Racism is not limited to the poorest South Africans.
Yes, I'm calling about the property that you advertised on...
Sipho Sonda is a university graduate. When he tried to rent a flat, he was shocked by the response.
But so isn't that just a form of harassment, though?
Yeah.
And that can be reported and they can, that's a policy, no harassment.
Is it a policy there?
There?
See, we know our laws and our rights, but...
I haven't walked in one business got the job and was told, you know what I'm saying, this is one of the things that we don't allow. Tardiness, boo, 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 and, you know, so forth, so forth. So I would think that's like something they probably have in place. Do you guys have that in place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's still... We have to sort through the things we're watching through our lens. Because we're listening to it with our point of view. You know, knowing here certain policies are in place. But if that is her employer and she's stepping up, she said that other people are going through it as well, but they don't want to, you know,
they don't want
step up.
to risk their job.
Right. So let us know that, because we don't want to say that there's policies in place and there's not policies in place. We hope there are, but we just don't know. That's not something we've researched.
They should have a policy in place to protect the employee, though.
Yeah, definitely.
Something in place.
Definitely.
He was so bold, he just decided to tell him that, look, the flat is not available to non-whites, quoting him verbatim.
Masonto is a journalist at City Press. He and his colleagues decided to conduct a survey to test if there was racial discrimination.
To non-whites, quoting him verbatim.
Masonto graduate. When he tried to rent a flat, he was shocked by the response.
But I called this guy, he was so bold, he just decided to tell him that, look, the flat is not available to non-whites, quoting him verbatim.
And see, that right there reminds me of redlining, the laws that we had in place where we couldn't, well, not us, because we wasn't born yet, but the generation before us, our parents' generation, were not able to buy certain homes in certain neighborhoods because of redlining, you know? They wanted to keep the demographics for non-blacks.
Masonto is a journalist at City Press. He and his colleagues decided to conduct a survey to test if there was racial discrimination by rental agents and landlords.
I think I found about 7. Out of the 7, the 5 were fine with it. But out of the 7, there were 2 which were Afrikaans adverts, rather. So I phoned the Afrikaans adverts. I was bluntly told that the places had been taken. Like 5 minutes later, Yvonne phoned. She spoke Afrikaans and asked for the places. One of them told her the place is still available. She can come in at 4 and view the place. The other one said, no, the place is freely available. She can just come in and get the place if she wanted it.
Wow.
Black South Africans are not the only ones who feel they are targets of discrimination. Following the killings of white farmers, Steve Hofmeyer and other prominent Afrikaners established a protest movement called Red October.
It made a really big hoo-ha about the fact that if white people get together, it's racist, and if white people get together, they're far right-wing, and you are wrong.
Red October is an international march from 7 or 8 countries, about 58 marches. Lots of them, I suppose, from expats that used to live here, that moved for various reasons, to let the world know that our state gives us a deaf ear when we tell them that there is a minority of us still here who refuse to acclimatize to this substandard of life expectancy.
Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu believes that white people need a different kind of leadership.
It is a shame that the white community has not been able to produce a leader who would say to white people, you don't know just how lucky you are. You don't know just how lucky you are that people can still tolerate living in shacks and go and work for white people in beautiful homes and not kill those white people.
Let's just admit it.
Whoa, sir.
Wait a minute, we gotta digest.
Hey, school came through with a whole look. Man, he came with that one. That was okay, like you gotta understand why he said what he said though, because the history can be so, you know, like front lobe type talk. You know what I'm saying? Where people were unforgettable and unforgiving.
Yeah.
That at the blink of an eye you could be reminded type talk. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we just gotta keep it real and straight blunt with y'all, man. Like, I feel like this debate is about to be just that. It's gonna be really real and very straightforward and a lot of controversy going on.
Yeah, y'all see how we stumbling over our words and stuff? anytime we react to like dealing with all of the ethnic groups and I don't know, in South Africa, to me it's like a warped reality. Like it's the same but the complete opposite, but not really when it comes to certain issues. But it's like now in present day 2023 in United States, yeah, we deal with some racial tensions, but it's not like how it was in the 70s, you know? So it's like
no, it's not how it was, and we're not gonna hold y'all because we're gonna. Hey, can we be real today? Can we keep it real today?
We always real.
Let's go, because this
The
I know this was
Rainbow
crazy.
Nation has failed. The whole idea of non-racialism 20 years on, a pipe dream. In fact, we should blame you marketing guys, because you came up with it and then you exploited it for your own commercial gain.
No, I don't think that marketing, came up with it. In fact, it was Archbishop Tutu came up with it.
And you exploited
and he
it.
was like, the Rainbow Nation of,
Yes.
that's,
Yeah.
he coined
And then
the
you
phrase.
exploited it.
I'm not even going to talk about marketing. I can understand what Mandela was trying to do, what, Archbishop Tutu and them were trying to do, but you are not going to get that done in like 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years. Exactly. Because when you used to sing a black person as a garden boy your whole life, and you are not used to seeing a black person as an intelligent person who can think for themselves, who can produce and do things, then you are not likely to accept them as someone who's equal to you.
So Sangam Samang, it's a long-term...
So, we often try to put in perspective the time frames. So, us, like the years that we were born, in the 90s.
90s, baby.
That was about 30 years after the Civil Rights Movement. And do you recall any, like, tension, any real, I don't want to say racism, but racism. This is a debate on racism, right? Any racism? Did you...
Not that I can recall off the back. I think and I can't tell you why. It's just how it was. I guess it was my environment. Right.
Me either. And although during that time, I was living in mostly all black neighborhoods. We had Asians, but we had white people, not many in the neighborhoods that I was living in, but I went to school with them. There was never any racial tension as a child. I'm thinking of as a child. That was 30 years ago. So y'all are coming up on 30 years. So it's like, it's not going to take 5 years to get through.
Oh, no.
The painful history. It's going to take some time, but like today, we have friends of all ethnicities, we all know the stereotypes and the things that we have gone through in the past. And I think especially us being from the South, our families witnessing lynchings, and there's still, like City Park in New Orleans, that's where they hung all of the people from the trees. Like, I remember my grandmother's pointing to the tree saying, look, that's where they did that at. That's where they did that at.
Oh, wow.
So that's still there. And just me observing my grandmother and her life, she has white, friends. So just judging on the time frame, just to give y'all perspective, during those years, I don't recall any like tension. Of course there was tension, but I'm speaking in everyday lives. Take politics out of it.
I was never attacked. Right? There wasn't nothing going on like that.
Project, right? So we must just be patient.
No, I think that the concept of being patient assumes that there isn't an urgency to it. So while at the same time, I think we all recognize that non-racialism is a work in progress, we need measures now that address the very real situations in which people are living. We cannot accept, as Archbishop Tutu says, that because of the color of your skin, you will be born, you will live a certain kind of life, and you will die in that same station. Exactly. My children go to a nursery school, and in that nursery school, there's not a single one of the preschool teachers who is not white. And there's not a single one of the teaching assistants who is white. So the message every single day for those women, there is a ceiling. And until this changes, you will never get this job.
Sinette Bridges, why do we need a Red October movement? I mean, we have 30 million black people in this country who don't have a plate of food. Wouldn't it be better for you to fight that? Would that not make you a little bit more secure, as you heard from Desmond Tutu, that white people in this country are lucky?
I don't agree with what Desmond Tutu said, firstly, at all. And I don't think we can prescribe to tell people what they can and cannot march for. People become involved in projects and march for things that are important to them. There are people marching 6 marches per day in this country, violent ones. And then it is very easy to make an insert, like the one that was played before the show, where the fact that there is white poverty is completely denied, ignored. I, in fact, don't think...
I do have to, speak on this, though. Like, we ran across a video about the white squatter camps, and to us, that was different. Of course, we do have, like, poverty. We have poverty a lot in a lot of places. But to see that, where the warped reality started to kick in for me. Just seeing how people had to come bring them food because they couldn't go get food themselves. That was heartbreaking. Honestly, it don't matter what color a person's skin is. It's a human being at the end of the day. Yeah. And I don't want to see anyone in that state,
Yep.
That most of the people here know that there are white squatter camps.
So why not partner then with the other people who are in squatter camps who are fighting for similar things to those white South Africans who live in squatter camps? Well, why segregate yourselves?
No, part of the Red October had to do with affirmative action, broad-based black economic empowerment. These are discriminatory laws. There are 1 million people, white people, left in the job market in South Africa. So even if you took every single one of their jobs, if you took every single white job away from them and gave all of those 1 million jobs to a black person, then you will just have 1 million more white people that are poor.
But no one's asking.
Why do people answer through examples instead of giving a direct answer to what the question was asked? Like,
we answer through examples.
We give direct answers, though. We give direct answers. I feel like she could have given a direct answer. It's a little simple. She said, why not just join with the people instead of segregate them? She used black people as an example. Yeah. She didn't like, if she come to a point where she says what she's trying to say, then say it. But, yeah, this is...
For 1 million jobs to be taken away from
white people. It is happening. It is, in fact, happening.
But no one's asking for it.
It seems to me the height of self-indulgence for white people to go on and on about affirmative action in the face of so many very real and pressing national problems. And I think part of what's going on with the affirmative action kind of hang-up that white people have is it's the one area since, democracy came where white people were forced to not be allowed to state their case and to win that particular fight. And so part of how racism works is that we view white people's pain as more important than black people's pain, right?
Sinet?
No, that's not true at all. You view us as thinking that our problems are more important, and then we think that you think that your problems are more important. And that's the problem that we have. And can I finish, please? Because you and I should have coffee and then you can sort out your personal issues with me. I'm not denying that there are hectic problems in this country that need to be addressed. But we can also not deny the fact that very many of these problems are service delivery, maintenance problems due to cadre deployment, affirmative action. Because people have been put into positions that they are not qualified to do, and the country is falling apart.
Exactly. When we talk about these things, it always seems to me that the reality of living in South Africa passes some people by, like Sonette. And you can throw out certain statistics, like 18% of white people live in so-called squatter camp, whatever.
Have you ever been to a white squatter camp?
But if you actually follow statistics that are scientifically taken, then you see, for example, that after 1 year of graduation, a white graduate is about 10 times as likely to have gotten a job than a black graduate. Why is that?
actually,
and I really feel like just judging by statistics, that is universal.
That is, yeah, definitely, yeah.
For what reason?
Plenty of reasons. Plenty.
Like what is the reason? I just would love to know, as a person who has dealt with that issue, what is the reason?
I think, like, for me, I say plenty of reasons. You're probably thinking like, well, say that, yeah. For one, it's face. You know, people want marketing to work best out for them because they feel like this is a trust more worthy. So the image they paint for a black individual, not overall, but for a black person, would be thuggish, gangster. So if you see that face, then they'd be like, okay, I don't think you guys have the best business because look who y'all have working for y'all. Or start, you know what I'm saying? And then the other one is relationship. I feel like, though everyone is universal, we can all relate to the best of our knowledge. There's some backgrounds we just don't come from. So when you have same people in the same room with the same background ethnicity, then they be able to talk and relate and not have to side eye you to think that what they're saying can be bothersome to you. They can trust you. You know what I'm saying? And so much more. So much more.
Yeah, and I'm gonna just pitch in and say, look at my hair. My hair would be deemed as unprofessional. You know, so that's why we have things like the Crown Act and trying to get that, you know, pushed, you know, because when you look at me, what do you see?
Yeah.
And what makes me a threat? What makes me unprofessional? What makes me not good enough, you know, to get the same thing another person who may be underqualified?
Right.
What is the difference other than the education part? Like, I know a lot of times, you know, we're comfortable on camera, so we talk to you guys as if you were our friends and our family.
Facts.
But that shouldn't dictate, like, if a person was a person who was as comfortable as we are and then they go to a job interview, that is what they see before we even open our mouth. That is what they think of us. You don't know how to speak properly. You don't know how to conduct yourselves in a professional setting. That is what they think, but they don't know.
Oh, gosh.
We code switchers.
Right.
Not really code switchers. You just adapt to your environment.
Yeah, we know how to adapt. We've been through a lot. You know what I'm saying? There's some people who haven't been through anything, so when they get in certain environments, they break.
Yeah.
We don't.
Yeah. I feel like we're going off topic now.
Yeah.
But there is the reality of hundreds, if not thousands, of white farmers being killed on their farms. We can't ignore it.
If you are a black person living in Khayelitsha, your life is far more at risk than any white person living anywhere. Me as a middle-class white person driving in a car, the threat to my existence for crime is far, far less than if you are a poor and black person because of the way in which apartheid structured our society.
In terms of the insight that you've given and so on, you talk about racism against black people. You also talk about white farmers being killed. Whilst there's no mention that the second largest population group in this country, not being white, them being colored, is so neglected. We've got the highest incarceration rate. So we are so caught up between a white, black debate and so on. And this ideal, the zebra debate, this ideal where we want to grow to in terms of a rainbow nation is, so to say, denied because we are leaving behind the people who are originally in this country.
Let me ask you this.
Before she asks, so colored people are the most high incarcerated rate in Africa?
South Africa.
In South Africa?
Yeah, so...
Yeah, my bad. I did not know that.
The more and more we learn about the colors, we understand why you guys always say that you all relate to African Americans.
I feel, you know, like, and if they are the highest, I ain't gonna say they're doing the most expansive, like, they ain't going crazy like that, but they're targeted. So if you're targeting something and you trying to find something and the reason to do a thing, you're gonna find it. But being colored, we mentioned that before. For y'all, as being colored, for us is like, we just say mixed. They do play an important role. They have a universal language that they can speak to both races. You know what I'm saying? Like, they can fit the narrative and bring people together. You know what I'm saying? Like, it works that way. Yeah, it's crazy.
I understand now. I'm the more and more we get into their history, you know, some areas are still kind of fuzzy for me. You know, just when I'm truly trying to understand, you know, their perspectives. Some things are still a little bit fuzzy, but being looked at just the statistics, man, the statistics of both countries in comparison, I can see how y'all relate. And it's sad, you know, and especially us coming from a state, I don't know if we're still 50th in education, but we're number one in incarceration and 50th in education. Oh, I bit my tongue, excuse me. In education, so when you look at those numbers alone, it's us.
When the racial categorizations are made in this country under, for example, black economic empowerment, employment equity, colored people fall under black people, why do you feel the need? Let me finish my point and then you can respond. Why do you feel you must hold on to that identity and why it then leads to the exclusion that you're talking about?
There can be many reasons, but the sole reason is we are a social construct in this country. Secondly, constitutionally, we have the right to associate us with whomever we want to. We are coloureds. There's nobody representing us here. I'm just asking for fairness. I'm saying if we are really serious about speaking about racism, let us give each other a fair chance. Let us say there must be a black person, there must be a colored person, a white person, an Indian person. But you can't say let's talk seriously about racism, but you exclude us.
And that is what I noticed. I noticed that they were not up there. That's a problem.
And somebody made a comment earlier about the debate, and he was like, "We are all a part of the debate." Yeah, he made that big.
That's a problem.
All right, Dr. Mulder, if you could stand up for me.
The Rainbow Nation is in trouble, in serious trouble. When we started the constitutional writing process in '95, I was present as a member of parliament. An ad was put out to the public to say, what is South Africa about? It said, at that time, 20 million women, 18 million men, 8 religions, 25 church denominations, 31 cultural groups, 14 languages, 9 race groups, 1 country. And if you look at the audience today, that is the reality of South Africa. The question is, how do we deal with that reality? How do we take South Africa forward and create a society where we can live in peace and harmony and take our country forward? Now, my fight is not so much with our friend from Coca-Cola. My fight is with a friend from South African breweries. The impression is created of this wonderful rainbow nation. We see that every Saturday in sporting advertisements. The true problem is that the recipe for nation building in South Africa is wrong. We cannot stumble from one sporting event to the next and think we're going to build a nation in terms of people feeling that they belong, that they are accommodated. That's why the Minister of Sport reacted so terribly about Bafana Bafana, calling them useless idiots. Why? He hoped that they would win the cup and the ruling party can ride on that sentiment until the election. That's what he hoped.
Do Indian people feel the same way as colored people, that they are excluded, that they are a separate group and should be dealt with separately?
Well, I don't know. I'm not here as an Indian person. I'm here as a black South African woman.
Wow.
The problem
What's your question? What you got to say? What you got? She looks Indian? I thought she, is
Yeah. Let us know. She look Indian to us. I'm a little bit confused.
Maybe she's standing up.
Okay.
think is that in the first few years of our democracy, the ANC had a discussion which they called the national question about how it deals with the question of race. But as time went by, after the Mandela presidency, the ANC abandoned that because there were other priorities in the country, and rightly so. And what you then had is people retreating into their lagers. So what you have is people like Sunette and my black brother across there who believe that they are different. And there is no intelligent debate in this country.
Okay. Think I got it. But It's like we be thinking we understand y'all, and then y'all throw us another curveball.
Now let her roll it out.
I do understand because she called the colored men black too, but knowing and being in communication with our supporters who are colored, and Indian, they appreciate their culture and they say they're colored and they're Indian. But I do understand in terms of, you know, the tier, black or white.
And I think that's what she's standing on. She's like, and that's why I said earlier she's standing up because it's about racism.
Okay, because when apartheid, they were all fighting the same fight.
Yeah, if you really think about it, there was two sides to this.
Okay.
There was the white side, and then there was everybody.
Okay, but on a daily basis, what do y'all say? Do y'all say black or Indian, or do y'all say colored or Indian?
Yeah.
When it comes to different issues, help us understand. Y'all see how we got confused. Y'all see.
Than what we're doing now on how to deal with these issues and how to help people like this to see that their problems are no different from everybody else's problems, and that when you talk about squatter camps in this country, it's more to do with class rather than a few people, you know, that feel that they need to be treated differently.
To feel that they need to be treated differently. You mentioned something earlier about that, right? When you saw it, was it like that to you? Like, do you think it was more set in class ranks, or?
I don't know about the class. Well, there was some people on there complaining about jobs. They were not able to get jobs, but
so they still not able to get.
But is it a class? Poverty is a class issue.
Of course.
It is. It's not. Well, I'm speaking from here.
But this system, though, that they have up, is that more you think said like to a class thing?
Again, I'm not there for first-hand experiences to say that, but I know here poverty is a class issue. You know, you gotta. Yeah. We in a rat race in America.
It's about that dollar, though.
Yeah.
For real. That's what I mean, overall, I feel like that's what it is. It's about the dollar. If you got it, you got it. If you don't, you don't. Right. If you got it, you still will deal with levels of racism. Right. I don't know what y'all think about that, but I feel the mindset doesn't change just because your pockets change.
We just went through something recently.
So,
and just because of the color of our skin does not make us in poverty, you know, and that's why we've always like shared our truth with y'all, shared that we came from the bottom to the top. When we still ain't where we want to be at the top. Okay?
Yeah, of course.
So, like we've lived everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that their problems need to be treated differently.
All right. I don't know. It's a huge project. Yeah, this. Building this country, not fighting with each other and not pointing fingers. Why are we not in this together?
I think the defining chord that runs through South African identity is the sense of exclusion. If you're poor and black, you feel excluded. If you're white and your ancestors were colonialists, you feel excluded. If you're multiracial, if you're colored, and your ancestors were slaves and colonialists, you feel excluded. Everybody in this country feels like they're being pushed out of the box of South Africanness. Our country was built on 350 years of systemic violence. Systemic violence, misogyny, and the exclusion of people. When we start to deal with the emotional, psychological, and spiritual baggage of that, then we'll start to form a country, we'll start to form a nation. But that is real, deep, inner, emotional, loving work. We need to start speaking from a place of love for self, from a place.
I feel what she's saying. I mean, because a lot of people, like, what it sounds like is that everyone just want to be logical. They don't want to be right. But if you, like, say, you know, if you put your hand over the fire, you're going to burn. Okay, well, if you push my hand over the fire and you leave me over there, of course, then it's a different scenario. You know what I'm saying? So everybody want to be logical, but if you look at the real emotional side of it, they have been emotionally damaged for years. And so forth and so forth. So
definitely. All that.
Of love for our children, from a place of wanting this society to be what we imagine it to be in our minds, in our dreams. We've got to want something better than what we have now, and want it more than we want to be right.
More than right.
It's a bar.
And when we return, we hear from gardeners who have been victims of racism here in Johannesburg. This is The Big Debate. Welcome back to The Big Debate on Racism. a black South African can expect to receive approximately 13 cents for every rand received by a white South African. That's up 1 cent since 1994. Some of those workers paid the least are domestic workers, cleaners, and gardeners. Wits University has outsourced some of these workers to save money. Let's speak to one of them.
Yeah, ke berekela university as outsource. So a gone treatment tse di tshwanetseng tse di bontshang gore re batho re tšeo ka batho. I mean if re bola ka racism la motho motlamile re bola ka inequality e leng gona go university. I mean if o sana le batho ba sa sebeletsang ba golang 1,200 rand or 2,000 rand ka kgwedi, which means a gona ka gore ya re ese batho ba bantsho. University even ka boyona I engage or I netaba le batho ba bantsho in order go teach civilization if you bola ka mogona.
Okay, so nibhatala kancinci futhi anikwazi ukungena kwi-toilet zonke eze-university, anikwazi ukungena nase-library.
Wow. No, library abadumele batho ba tsena ka library, especially as a or as outsource. But previously ga ba sa dumele even batho ba ya go toilet ba batla batho ba sebedisa toilet E1. Racism is tsamaishana le inequality.
I'm listening to everything that's been going on.
That's crazy, yo. That's different. I didn't know that was like.
In today's time?
Nah.
There go that warp reality again. Like, I could not imagine, being a worker and not being able to use the restroom. Now, I can understand this. I can understand when it's like, oh, you can't use, let's say, for example,
like a I'm gonna say
teachers.
Yeah, like a manager's
like the manager's
facilities. You know what I'm saying? Like they got the nice decorated walls and the vents work when you need to dry your hands. The other ones you just got one big bathroom that got a little tissue on it. It's not as polished. You know what I'm saying?
But that wouldn't be racism. That would just be
class.
Like, yeah, I work for this office.
Yeah, you work on that building. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but when it comes to I'm working and I can't, if I gotta use the restroom really bad, I can't go use any restroom.
And they got libraries will have more resources that I can't get in touch to. Like, that don't make sense.
I'm cleaning this same toilet that you're telling me I can't use. Child, our ancestors ran so we could walk, cause not me.
And everyone is talking like us, the coloureds. No one is talking about us. We, the black people, being oppressed. Oh, there's white poverty. No one is talking about the white poverty. And I think the issue is resources over racism. Everyone thinks that there aren't enough resources for me. And what happens, even if you look at other countries, look at Greece, for example, look at Russia, the moment they experience a recession, what happens is that they start attacking foreigners.
Of course, there's a resource problem. But in essence, the whole question, why can't we just get along, sit in a circle and sing Kumbaya? It is all about power. Who has the power? And power is not only whether you have political power. It's whether you have economic power, yes. Whether you have social power. If you have a white skin in a racist society, you have more social power. And it's a nasty concoction of things that makes it very difficult for people to come together as equals.
Now, I like him.
You have something to say, babe?
Yes, he's level-headed and open-minded.
I
can
like
see him being from the South.
Being
amongst, knowing his privilege, but also knowing other people's pain.
He can come to the barbecue, aka the bra.
The bra.
I like him though, cause I feel like even though the other gentleman was talking about it's a resource problem, which is very factual. There's some things we just don't know.
But why is there a resource problem?
At the end of the day, it's all about class and who you have around you. There's certain things that you just don't know. If you come from an environment that's like in poverty, really, really bad, you will not know that. Anything that's beneficial for you to get you out. That's some things you just won't. Thank you. But I feel like he just painted a picture that it's not just resources. It's power. It's to keep people in a certain position. It's to keep you in need so we can feed ourselves based on what you need. You know what I'm saying? Because they have things in place to benefit off you, even though there's nothing for you to benefit from what you're given. Yeah. I don't know. It's like, he kind of made a bigger broad perspective with it.
And when they were speaking earlier about the jobs and about how they're a minority, but they have the better jobs than the black South Africans. That is an issue. Like when we saw the form, the foreign percentages. That is an issue. Because how? How?
So are you admitting then that by virtue of having a white skin, that you have a level of power that I, with my black skin, wouldn't?
I do. Socially. For example, if I go into a shop, I know that no matter if I come from the gym, if I go to the gym, and I'm dressed scruffily, nobody's going to assume that I am somehow up to mischief. If I'm a black person and I go to the same thing, people are going to assume it.
Very straight to the point and simple. Yeah.
I wonder whether we're willing to cede our I-ism, our coloredism, our Indianism, our black.
Hold on. Ooh.
There you go. You good.
Okay, so you know, us being who we are, there are certain times when you are by yourself in a store and I'm on the phone with you and I'm like, let's say like if you get loud and you start laughing, I'm like, babe, come on, you need to watch yourself.
But I'm doing that though. Like I don't be tripping.
That's you. I know, but at the same time,
I wish they would.
You're black.
And I wish they would.
No, you don't wish they would.
Well, I'm not wishing they would, but at the same time, I'm not in no level of like I'm not worrying about it.
But you have to understand how you view yourself, knowing that you're not doing nothing wrong. It's not how other people view you.
I have an answer for everything they got.
Yes, but just knowing the potential conflict of someone thinking something of you.
And that's where a lot of nervousness takes place with a lot of people in the black community overall, because when you walk in certain environments, you want to be yourself, you want to have fun, you want to socialize, you want to get in and get out. But just from walking in there, you may hear somebody on the intercom says,
on the intercom.
Like what they say?
They say they little codes.
Yeah, they say some codes, and instantly you like
entrance, aisle 5,
red
center,
red 3, anything like that. You know what I'm saying? It's like you don't still try to look for the trouble, but it's already looking at you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, and if they want to at the blink of an eye, you can be put on the spot to where you have to have an answer. You have to have the mannerisms. You have to have the body language and all that stuff without them suspecting anything. And I get what you're saying, but at the end of the day, listen, I ain't gonna pat myself on the back. But
let's say, stop. No, it's like I know you're okay. I'm not worried about you. I'm worried about the others who may think something of you.
I'll be worried about them.
Because just looking at you,
what Mystical said, save the bear.
Stop. Just looking at you, they may think that you are a part of a certain
group
or
yeah, I get
you know what I'm saying? Just judging based off of your appearance. That's the fear that other people don't understand about how we have to conduct ourselves in public. But I was gonna say, it's just like if a worker come and try to see something large in our basket and say, I can hold this up at the front for you to make sure that we pay for it, but then we can go to another person and do the same thing. You know, until people understand the things that we have to go through, they'll never understand.
But take from me though, you don't want to. Man, I had it in my head, but I was thinking about it, and then I was thinking like, should I say it or not? Look, just take it from me though. At the end of the day, I feel like even though you walk in an environment and you still got to put yourself together, whatnot. I personally don't even worry about these things because I feel that and this is an answer that I know that works for me, that people are gonna fall harder being someone they're not. In a position that, you know what I'm saying, instead of being yourself. Because if you can speak for yourself and how you are at the end of the day, you're going to know how to protect yourself. You're going to know how to, adjust to certain situations. But if you want to put your body language and your voice a certain way, and then you want to stand a certain way just because you're around a group of people, then they're instantly going to see that weakness. Because it don't fit your character. It don't fit your character.
I'm not saying nothing about changing yourself. I'm not saying
No,
that.
I'm only speaking to the people who do. Because they got people who walk in environments and they feel like if they can fit the narrative, they can get in and out without having to think. You know they got people like that. Y'all know the type of people we talking about. But if you can go in there, be yourself and do what you got to do. I don't care if you're laughing, if you clap your hands loud over the phone, they come up to you. Like anything you do, just have an answer that makes sense. You got to be knowledgeable. You got to have your...
Yeah, just judge them.
Yeah.
Back to the debate.
Okay.
Our blackism, our whiteism, our Afrikanism, in the interest of an African identity, which is something that I think is far more compelling than the kind of silos that we are trying to construct. I think that there's no getting away from the fact that the project of apartheid was very linked with white capital expansion. I think it would be more useful to frame our conversation around rather affirmative action, corrective action, because what are we doing? We are correcting what has gone wrong. Reconciliation is not just about, I'm so sorry, I love you, 100%. You love me. No.
All right.
I mean, and that's just like us when it comes to with slavery. It's like a lot of the stuff that they had us doing was put in a position to help their businesses thrive, to make everything that we built for, like, the things that we built was for their upbringing, how they wanted to prosper. How they wanted to prosper, basically.
Embracing your African identity, please speak to that first before you make the other point.
Yes, absolutely. We started this conversation with regards to the Rainbow Nation. There cannot be a rainbow if we do not embrace the fact that we are several different cultures, we speak different languages, we have different traditions, and that was the plan, is for each of those to be preserved so that together it will be a really nice picture. But it all just became one big grey mess, and majority takes everything. And you cannot deny that. You cannot deny the fact that tribalism is alive and well, and I actually think it's a good thing. I mean, Zulu people they own 37% of Natal in the Ingonyama Trust, and nobody knows that the Zulus have an entire homeland in the brand new South Africa. But let them have it if they want, but then give it to us as well.
I want to stay with this point about the rainbow and everybody having their own piece, and maybe you want to speak to that because you want to raise the issue of the khoi.
Yeah, I just want to start by saying your question, did the Rainbow Nation fail? It was never successful because it was never reality. You see, since Codesa, this was a black and white talk. You've sidelined us.
So are you saying that there were no coloured people, no khoi people around the table at Codesa?
We are not included. We are not even like it's here.
They were there.
You have seats. You have seats for whites and blacks.
Sir, could we stick with the topic, please? At Codesa, there were coloured people, there were people of khoi descent.
No, this is not a Rainbow Nation. We are the Rainbow Nation, the ones who are being pushed aside. The rest is a Zebra Nation.
She walked away.
Not the
Boy,
Zebra Nation.
that is too funny.
Oh,
I want to go into our workplaces because we've talked about, the insert specifically looked at your overt racism. But we're working in the same environments, right? We're all in the same offices. How are we interacting?
Pretty negatively, unfortunately.
Wow.
I mean, after 20 years, one would have hoped there would have been more progress in terms of integration. You know, if I look back 20 years when we first started doing this work, there was definitely far more overt racism. I find it's now a far more covert thing. It's as if we can't talk about race, especially as white people. And until we have this discussion, especially in the workplace, until we negotiate and talk to each other, we're never going to build unity. This is our 20th year of democracy, and we're still hearing about me and my red October movement, and me and my little coloured thing. Why can't we be united?
Isn't what Sinette saying is that she's talking about the rainbow, but she's saying everybody in there needs to have their own space, and she feels that they don't have their own space in this country.
Think that, we have so much space as white people. We have benefited hugely, and we still benefit every day from apartheid.
Yo, so...
If somebody was to say we still benefit today from Jim Crow...
Yo, I get what's going on here. Okay, what you thinking, babe?
Nothing, baby. I'm mind blown.
Mine is too. It's like, do I touch on it? Do I touch on it? Do I? She's saying that the Zulus have their own. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about by the land. Mm-hmm. But she said not too many people know about that. And they left it on. She said, that's fine. And when she made that, I laughed because I'm like, ain't bothering nobody. They work for it. I'm pretty sure they're expanding and they're growing. That everybody's just growing. But then the other lady said, we've been having ours since the beginning. So what more can you still ask for when you've been having it since the whole thing ball drop? You feel me? So I'm like, yeah. Okay.
Talk about
It's nonsense to say we don't.
Part of what happens in these conversations, and I spent many years of my life working on gender issues and working as a gender trainer. And so you'd come and have a discussion about what men and women and how women have less power than men. The men in the room would say, but you're not acknowledging the places where you have improved. And it would make feminists, myself included, feel very defensive. But the reality is that if I am not able to acknowledge that as a black person who has one of the most fantastic educations in the world, has access and political networks, and walks into a room with confidence and will get the CEO position regardless of affirmative action, right? If I don't acknowledge that I have power, right, then we're not having an honest conversation. And then Sunette and my brother over here get upset because the reality is there has been an increase of some black people's power. There has been a new black elite that has formed.
So should we then change the way that we do black economic empowerment, change the way that employment equity is done? So me and you, who have already benefited, no longer benefit from
What
it.
I'm saying, so I believe in affirmative action. Yeah. Okay? Because I'm also not, I'm not a black person who is so individualistic as to say my power and my access means that no one else must have. What I am saying is that a mature conversation on race also recognizes there are different types of power and that there are shades and nuances in the conversation about power. And when I can accept my own privilege that in a new South Africa, the cachet of being an articulate black person has a certain type of power, if I can accept that and acknowledge that, then I can have a conversation with Sunette because I've given a little bit of what she's talking about. And then I hope she can also hear me, right? You agree?
Does that go with me walking in the store and you feel like when you make the call? You know what I'm saying? Me knowing my power?
You know your power, but kind of.
If I know my power is to go in there and go get that pack of breast meat that you really like, I'm going in there, I'm going to get in the best way, you know what I'm saying, as possible.
No, I feel like that would be more along the lines of systemic racism here. Yes, there are, things in place that would, suppress us a little bit. But like we always say, those things are in place, but when it comes to us as individuals, as a family, we don't let those things in place stop us from obtaining the level of success and whatever we want out of life.
Yeah.
It does not stop us.
That's the last excuse.
Not at all.
That's not even an excuse.
We work for everything we have.
Come on,
all right. I love her point because she made a point about her having. I don't know. I didn't read any of their names, but the singer, the Afrikaans singer, how they can have an articulate conversation, and have some understanding, and
based off power. Or from acknowledging your power.
Acknowledging their power. So that is why, like, when... Dang it, Dion, don't ask me no question.
I thought I had to add that in there because for me that's so important. Like knowing your power when you walk in certain rooms and based off your title and based off what you did in life.
We've been able to mend some things concerning South Africans. I'm not going to speak for every South African ethnic group, but we've been able to mend some things, us being American all the way in America, in the United States, and y'all being in South Africa, we have been able to mend the relationships between groups and help people understand some things. And I'm not just speaking this just saying because we're doing videos. No.
No.
We actually in communication with our people.
Facts.
We like talking to our people.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've been able to do some things. And I remember when it first started happening, I told them, I'm like, what are we doing? We're getting up here. We have these honest, vulnerable, sometimes heartbreaking conversations. But although it's uncomfortable, it's needed because it's helping people. It's helping people in a country that has a painful history. And those individuals haven't been able to have those things, have an understanding there.
Right.
But when we got added into the mix, because we some honorary South Africans now.
Okay.
We were able to have conversations. They were able to have conversations. They was able to converse with each other and have understanding.
Yeah, and that's I feel
That
like
is amazing.
That's what a lot of people need.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
All we need is understanding. Hear each other out. Check our biases. Check our prejudices. Have an open mind to things and hear people out.
Definitely have an open mind and operate in your power.
Operate.
That way, when you walk in that room, you feel confident in what you're doing,
right,
and not feeling like you're trying to, like you said, kiss up to them and get it how you want it. You know.
Yeah. Be positive.
Be positive.
I agree very much with what she's saying. I think it's about owning the truth of your own story with all of its complexity. So for me, as an educated middle class woman, I know that when I walk into spaces, I carry a certain currency that is not carried by my brother who can't pee in a toilet that I peed in when I went to Wits.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
But at the same time, I also acknowledge that when I do walk into spaces, for example, going into very poor, disenfranchised communities, I also have to acknowledge that the dysfunction that I see that exists in those communities is part of my historical baggage. 100%. I carry it within me. It's in my family. It's in my heart. It's in my choices. And what is worrisome is seeing people who own so much power in terms of land, in terms of resources, in terms of people you employ, in terms of the language that you've taken from these people and used to create a nation. You own so much power, but do you concede that? Do you acknowledge that? Do you own that? If you owned a little bit of that, it would be easy to come to the table with you. It would be easy to acknowledge death is death, pain is pain. I mean, there were 350 years of conscription in this country. It's only one generation of white men who didn't go into the military. How much pain exists in white families? I'd be...
Hold on, okay, so
she done got started.
Yes,
Woo,
and she
look at
been
her.
sitting back all I was about to say all morning, all
Man.
day, just listening. So, speaking to the power, us being who we are, having our educational backgrounds, having our social backgrounds, us being able to speak to the CEO on his level, speak to the felon on his level, speak to the children on their level, being multifaceted people.
That's a power.
With so many different background experiences. That's our power. That's why I love to work with you.
Yeah, you can't operate you can't operate in fear. You gotta really own that, bro. Like you gotta own that
power.
Like people be like, oh man, I have this big dream to speak in front of thousands of people, and then when you get up there, you don't own it. You get nervous. You know what I'm saying? You can't relate. It's like you gotta position yourself in places that look like it's gonna tear you down, but it's really meant to build you up. You know what I'm saying? I'm always stand on that one.
Yes.
I'd be willing to hear that.
Hold on,
Only one generation of white men who didn't go into the military. How much pain exists in white families? I'd be willing to hear that more than I'm willing to hear that your pain is your pain only, because everybody in this room is carrying pain.
But I don't believe the debate from our side. 20 years into this democracy, the debate from our side has never been to negate your pain, nor has it ever been about saying that we want back to where we came from. White people voted for this democracy.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
No, they didn't, Sissy. No, they didn't.
Yes.
A handful. Did you vote ANC in 1994?
I'm not talking about the ANC. Please listen. In 1992, white people had a referendum to decide whether they're going to allow the vote. And we gave the vote because we thought that what was happening was
It wasn't yours to give. Do you acknowledge that? It was not your country to take in the first place, but we acknowledge the fact that you are here.
And you will hear that a lot of times, that people always want to talk about a part that was benefiting and that makes them look good, but they don't talk about what happened and when it all started on. You know what I'm saying? That's the part that they avoid to hear. And I'm interested in to see what she's gonna say. She might deflect, or she might say something around it. But
I want her to speak on the pain.
Oh, the households, yeah.
I don't know. That one struck me.
That face.
That one struck me. It struck me. That's how I used to be in my speech and debate class. I'd be like,
yeah.
That one struck me, and it struck me because I remember putting up a short. And it was the short on how we've always been told to go back to Africa. And some of our Afrikaans supporters sympathize with that, and they were saying how they've always been told to go back to Europe, but they're like, we don't even know where at. Well, some of us don't even know where at in Europe we're from. I was born in South Africa, so I'm South African, and I'm like, it's such a complex issue in South Africa because I know the pain, I hear the pain. I love South Africans, like y'all are some amazing people. But that's just such a difficult topic because it wasn't that long ago. Like, ours was a long ago. It wasn't that long ago, but judging the time frame, again, y'all are just first generation. We a couple generations in, so struck a nerve.
And even if, like with the saying, go back to Africa or go back to Europe, to the pain, talking about the pain, if both parties was to do that, a party is still going to experience that pain. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, when they go back.
When they go back. So
it's like,
what are we going to do? You got to get to the bottom of this.
I would love to know. I kind of answered my question in my head before I asked. So I'm not going to ask.
I want to hear what she has to say, though.
Yeah.
The vote, and we gave the vote because we thought that what was happening
wasn't
was
yours
wrong.
to give. Do you acknowledge that? It was not your country to take in the first place, but we acknowledge the fact that you are here. We acknowledge that you are here. It wasn't your country to take. It's all of our countries, but acknowledge it's all of ours. It's all of ours. It's all of ours.